From there, we're going to go to the other team in Glasgow. That is, of course, Rangers. They have had a struggle this past week, to say the least. They were battered by 4-1 against Hearts. Ian Cathro himself was having a difficult time against teams in the Scottish Premiership as of late, and was struggling even to get to this next round of the Scottish Cup, which they will now play Hibs. And then a lot of people did expect Hearts to find this game against Rangers difficult, or Rangers would go on to get a win and maybe get some retaliation or some revenge from the previous result early in the season. But it was 4-1, Bryce, for Hearts against Rangers. Is that just down to a poor performance by Rangers themselves, or was it just a great display by Hearts?
I mean, it's kind of almost the tale of two managers here, isn't it? It's Ian Cathro had a really difficult time at the start of his career at Hearts. He wasn't winning matches, wasn't scoring a lot, but since that January transfer window, they've had a good couple of games. They're scoring a lot more goals, conceding a lot less. Whereas Mark Warburton at Rangers, first 3 seasons or however long he's been there, he was taking them up leagues, looked kind of invincible, and got into the Premiership here, and it's kind of, not everything's gone his way, so lots of questions are now being asked of him. He's not even second in the league. Arguably, I think Rangers do have quite a bit more money than some of the other clubs around them, so why are they not performing? And lots of people are saying that's down to Mark Warburton. Whether he'll go soon or whether he'll stay for a long time, I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, following that results, Rangers were at host to Ross County at home, and they didn't win again. They drew with them one goal each for both sides. I think a lot of fans, Rangers fans especially, were getting a bit annoyed, I feel, at Warburton after those hat-trick of wins for Celtic against Rangers early in the season, and they can face Celtic, of course, again the way the league is structured. Do you think now Rangers should really almost like pull a finger out and just try and revitalise the season, or do you think it's too little too late now?
Well, I say they're third in the league now. They're actually on level points with Aberdeen, so I mean they've got a good kind of chance to finish second if you like. So if they kind of get their act together a wee bit, Mark Warburton starts getting a few more results, kind of getting his players organised a wee bit better, there's no reason why they can't go on to do a wee bit better than they have.
Why do you think that is, that Rangers are struggling so much this season? I think, as you said, they did come up these past few seasons with quite relaxing with ease. I think last season they did, the season before last, they were knocked out by Kilmarnock in the playoffs. That was when Hearts did go back up. And then the following season they did come up and they did beat Celtic in the Cup, but as we know, Hibs did go on to beat them in the Cup final. Do you think this is just Rangers players not performing when they should, or is it just mentally just the bad form is getting to some players and they're not performing as a result?
Yeah, football is kind of as much of a mental game as it is a physical game. When Rangers were down in the lower leagues facing teams like East Fife, they've got players who are worth 100 times as much. So obviously they're gonna really kind of beat those teams into the ground. But as they've progressed up the leagues, they're facing more and more difficult teams, more and more teams that are of their standard, if you like. And it's kind of been a wee bit of a shock to the system because they've been used to just gliding through matches for so long, and lots of these players now have the mentality of don't need to put in 100%. And when you don't put on 100%, there are teams that can shock you. Like Ross County aren't exactly, the best team in Scotland, but if you're not putting on 100%, they're not going to let you win. So, I mean, there's that kind of.
Do you think it's down to Rangers, the club and the fans relying on Kenny Miller too much? Do you think it's the fact they need more calibre up front in the midfield? They do have impressive players like, for example, Halliday, Boakon, but saying that it's not to maybe the standard of maybe Kenny Miller. And Kenny Miller himself has been at the club for so long, and he is arguably getting on a wee bit. He could have, say, a couple more seasons in him, and then he might decide to go back to MLS, he might decide to retire. Do you think they need to act now? Obviously, right now they can act because the transfer window has ended, but then come summer they need to act on the fact that maybe a new manager, maybe a new top player. I think they wanted to try get that in Joey Barton. It didn't work out. It cost them financially and mentally for the club. I think the players were a bit shaken by the whole ordeal. Do you think that's a problem? Do you think they need more experience instead of playing these almost, you could say, youngsters in this club that is Rangers?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of English criticism of the Scottish leagues is quite a lot of people from England think they could get anyone from a lower English league to go up and boss it in the Scottish Premiership, when we've seen players like Waghorn come up and that's just not been the case. You know, he's been significantly quieter this season as to folk like Dembele, who, yeah, he came from Fulham, I think, and they're not in the English Premiership, but he was getting regular games for Fulham and he was kind of proving himself, whereas Rangers don't really have that star man anymore. You know, you said Kenny Miller, he is getting on a wee bit, so when he goes, they're looking for a star player who's going to really lead the team, who's going to be your captain, and there's not one player in there at the moment that I can think of. They've kind of bought players like Nico Crankjar, who's he's an older player. Yeah, he might have been good 3 years ago, but I think he's there just to get a paycheck now, you know. So if Rangers really want to challenge for the title next season, they definitely need to make a new star signing, if you like.